Red Dead Redemption 2, a tale of a gang of misfits trying to make their way in the world. And oftentimes it means good people going bad, while sometimes it also means bad people going good. And I've been trying to figure out where or who I could compare the Van der Linde gang to, and funny enough, it was within the game itself. In this video, I'm going to discuss the inner conflicts within Arthur and John, and how their characters relate to King Arthur and the Round Table. During the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption 2, John asks what Jack has been reading, and he mentions King Arthur and the Round Table. The Round Table is King Arthur's famed table in the Arthurian legends, which was about King Arthur and his knightly members, each with different statuses. The Round Table was built upon the concept of patience, humility, and meekness. The knights were men of courage, honor, dignity, courtesy, and nobleness. They were to protect ladies, the honored like kings, and went on dangerous quests. These men had to uphold these standards or have a moral code. Just like what the Van der Linde gang originally was. Each gang member was a decent person but pushed to the edge of evil. Dutch founded the gang with Hosea. He valued liberties and a world where anyone can live in an independent existence. And soon, more and more of the gangs started to form as they all believed in the same principles. Even as they lied, stole, and cheated their way out of things, the Van der Linde gang still had a sense of good within them. We can see that when we met Sadie Adler. Dutch came to her aid and offered her his protection.
Now, it is going to be okay. We mean you no harm. Miss! Come on. It'll be okay.
Charles showing his honor and compassion for his culture, even when hunting animals, only taking what was needed, never out of greed. Even in Hosea's final moments, he desperately tried to keep Dutch grounded, to remember who he was and what the gang was supposed to represent. He even sacrificed himself to the Pinkertons to keep Abigail safe.
No!
But there are two characters who outshine the rest with having inner conflicts with themselves, with how they live, how they go about, and to be good or evil. And that's Arthur, Morgan, and John Marston. Before we continue, let's take a look at three Arthurian characters and how they relate to the gunslinging heroes. King Arthur led the defense of Britain against the Saxon invaders in the 5th and 6th century. Even though Arthur isn't the leader of the Van der Linde gang, he is still our protagonist, and ultimately we have control on how Arthur reacts towards certain situations and which way his moral compass will point. He is still able to help lead the gang and willing to risk his life if it means he will keep them safe, get money, or ultimately run from the law. Arthur still fights for the outlaw lifestyle even though the odds are against him. Even as you pass through camp talking with others, especially when things get really bad for them, Arthur tries to remain calm and keep everyone's spirits up, to give them hope that they can make it out alive against the Pinkertons.
Hey! Hello!
Hang in there. We'll be back on track soon.
I'm fine, Arthur. Don't worry about me.
All right?
Hey there.
How you feeling?
A little better.
Well, glad you're on the man.
Uh-huh.
What would we do without you?
Turn feral, I imagine.
Just know, we're grateful.
As I said earlier, Arthur was one of the characters who struggled with being good or evil, and the symbolism is also within his name alone. Arthur, representing King Arthur, mostly portrayed as a good and honest man, but he was also portrayed as a man of evil deeds, with murder on his hands. Arthur's last name, Morgan, also holds meaning, which can represent the Arthurian legend of Morgan Le Fay, a powerful enchantress. She was said to be King Arthur's savior and protector, with the potential of being both good and evil in her ways. Sir Lancelot, another prominent and important character within the Arthurian legends, was one of the Knights of the Round Table, the Lord of the Joyous Guard, a great swordsman, and the best friend to King Arthur. John Marston struggles a lot during Red Dead Redemption 2, but in the end, he tries to be a good man. He tries by upholding a sense of a knight in shining armor, with trying to leave the outlaw life behind, helping other people, being a good husband and father, while even trying to earn honest money with honest work. Being a Knight of the Round Table, it was Sir Lancelot's duty to have these moral codes. Whatever it is to be a good man, this also means loyalty to what King Arthur's cause was. John owes Arthur a lot for what he has done for him and his family, but there was something getting in the way, and that was revenge. Now this leaves me with the final Arthurian character I'll be discussing in this video, Queen Guinevere. Queen Guinevere was King Arthur's wife and was often portrayed as a very flawed and evil woman. She eventually had an affair with Sir Lancelot, and after King Arthur finds out, this ends with a civil war and a sense of chaos within the kingdom and with the other knights. Now, the obvious assumption of who Queen Guinevere represents would be Dutch van der Linde. He is the root of the cause as to why the van der Linde gang fell apart and caused so much doubt within Arthur and John. But I feel like that comparison is just too simple for the overall game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a redemption story both for Arthur and John, but the real evil isn't a person per se, but the idea of it. Arthur kept loyalty to the gang to the very end no matter how you played him. Arthur always sided with Dutch, went along with his plans, even when they made no sense. He tried his best to fight for the dream of what the gang represented, even if it made him look like a fool. If you played Arthur with high honors and picked to help John escape as your ending, Arthur becomes the full embodiment of what it means to be a king, to be a man, to be human.
We ain't both gonna make it. Go. Now. I'll hold them off. It would mean a lot to me. Please. There ain't no more time for talk. Go.
Arthur!
Go to your family.
Arthur!
Get the hell out of here and be a goddamn man.
Life is unfair, and sometimes it takes unfair situations to push a person to do better for themselves or others. As soon as he was diagnosed with TB, his outlook on life changed, and for the better. His endgame plan became something worth fighting for, to help his brother live the life he wished he had lived. To be a man, to be a husband, to be a father, to have a simple life away from crime and violence. John takes Arthur's wish, the idea of a normal life, and rolls with it, going straight, as he says, and works hard to prove to Abigail they can have a normal life doing normal work, being decent folk. John just does that. He works on a farm and gains help from his employer to buy himself a plot of land. This then shows Abigail that John is changing from his old ways. He goes even further to use Arthur's ring to propose to Abigail, to show her that he loves her and wants to be a good man for her.
Will you marry me?
Get up. I am married to you.
No, I mean proper. In front of God.
You serious?
I got this ring. I've had it for a long time. Take it.
You serious?
It would make me very happy if you would...
We've lived a lot of lives.
Let's just live this one from now on. You and me, Jack, a family, by law.
Things fall apart the moment Sadie mentions Micah was still alive. The emphasis of Arthur's touching moments with John before he dies shows how much he cares for John, his family, and just how much he wanted to save something left of the gang. That was what drove Arthur to live until his death. That spirit still lives when you play as John. When you head back to the old camps, you can hear memories within them.
So just do one thing or another. Not be two people at once, that's all I'm saying.
It ain't that simple. You know that as well as anyone.
The good spirit still lingers within John, and everything he does for his family in the epilogue. The Guinevere was the temptation of falling back into evil. It gets in the way of Arthur's last wish to John and the overall message of Red Dead Redemption 2 was trying to convey. John betrays it by not even thinking twice about going after Micah with Sadie and Charles.
I'm begging you. No! You risk all this? For what? For Micah?
All this wouldn't exist if it weren't for Arthur, Sadie, and all the folks that fell. If I let him go, this place ain't no more real than one of Jack's dragons.
I'm begging you.
And I'm begging you to understand. This is it. This is...
Please.
Please try to... I ain't got no other choice.
Comparing it back to the Arthurian legends, Sir Lancelot's downfall was the moment he had an affair with Queen Guinevere. Although there are many interpretations of their love affair, it was evident in all of them that Sir Lancelot was her favorite knight because he saved her from death twice. It even went far as Lancelot killing a fellow knight of the Round Table, Sir Gareth. This action caused the Round Table to disband. The need to avenge Arthur's death was the biggest mistake John Marston could have ever made. Even Charles thought so.
We owe this to Arthur.
You think Arthur cared about revenge? I'm not so sure. Especially not at the end.
If John didn't go after and kill Micah, if he accepted Arthur's wish and just moved on from the Van der Linde gang, the Pinkertons wouldn't have found him at Beecher's Hope. His family wouldn't have been held hostage, and he wouldn't have died the way he did. Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season, or season 4, has left me thinking about a lot of things about where Clementine's story will be heading, with the large amounts of foreshadowing following Clementine's allies to the main characters. These powerful beasts are known as summons. They are extraordinary beings that can be called into battle by their summoner. They are also depicted as